right, welcome to another episode of Politics as Usual. As promised, another video for you. Of course, we try to do things with substance, things that are actually going to make a difference in your life, your family's life, the people that you love and care about the most life. We report on the stories that most other people won't, and this is the whole reason for the channel. So right now we have a water crisis going on in America that nobody seems to be talking about. But guess what? I'm going to share this information, so hopefully you can share it with somebody you know, somebody you care about, and we can protect each other. Right, so let's get into it. Okay, here we have a report from The Guardian, and it was a study done across the US on the drinking water, and the findings are pretty disturbing and outrageous. I don't understand if the conspiracy theories are true at this point. Is the government trying to kill us? Because I don't know what else to believe. For our drinking water and the food in this country to literally be poisoning and killing not only us but our children, and we have a government that sits around and does absolutely nothing about it. Not only that, but where the hell is the regulatory agencies that we set in place to take care of shit like this? Oh, let me tell you now, they're all corrupted and co-opted into these corporations who are literally killing us. At this point, it is safe to say from this article that this is just the tip of the damn iceberg, and there is a major calamity coming to this country. It ain't gonna be from Russia, it ain't gonna be from North Korea, it ain't gonna be from damn China, it ain't gonna be from Iran. It's gonna be from right here at home, and us and these damn corporations that we have let take over our livelihoods, right? People are literally at home right now. You're feeding your kids, cooking in this poison, letting them bathe and brush their teeth. The things that you cherish and supposedly love most in this world are literally being destroyed, and you are helping destroy it, right? Every time you tell your kids to go in there and brush their teeth, every time you tell them to go in there and take a bath, every time you sit down and tell them to eat this poisonous food that you're feeding them, you are actively helping destroy the things that you supposedly cherish and hold most dear. And this is the sickness of this country and what it has us, the people, have to go through. When you look at it from my perspective and you see things clearly like that through my eye, the way I'm looking at things, I don't understand how people could stand for this. I don't understand how there's not major action. I don't understand how everybody can just sit at home in their damn living rooms or in their bedrooms or wherever they're at, in whatever room they're in, and just allow yourselves and the things you cherish and hold most dear to be destroyed. So I'm going to read this story, and then I'm going to do my best to see what I can do about bringing some action to this situation, because that's what we need in this country. We need action. We need major action. It don't matter what movement, for what cause, as long as it's something righteous, because we need change. This is unsustainable. This story is mind-boggling. And then after that, once I start reading it, you'll see why this shit has got me so unhinged. So let's get into it. It says, we sampled tap water across the U.S. and found arsenic, lead, and toxic chemicals. It says, in Connecticut, a condo had lead in its drinking water at levels more than double what the federal government deemed acceptable. At a church in North Carolina, the water was contaminated with extremely high levels of potentially toxic PFAS chemicals, a group of compounds found in hundreds of household products. The water flowing into a Texas home had both, and plus a concerning amount of arsenic too. All three were among locations that had water tested as part of a 9-month investigation by Consumer Reports and The Guardian into drinking U.S. water. This is coming from Consumer Reports and The Guardian. These are accredited agencies, for lack of a better word, that are handling this. And I mean, it's mind blowing. It's mind blowing that our government and the mechanisms that we supposedly set in place to keep us safe and to regulate, to keep shit like this from happening, is pretty much non-existent. It says, Consumer Reports and The Guardian selected 120 people from around the U.S. out of a pool of more than 6,000 volunteers to test for arsenic, lead, PFAS, per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, and other contaminants. The samples came from water systems that together service more than 19 million people. It says a total of 118 of the 120 samples had a concerning level of PFAS or arsenic above Consumer Reports' recommended maximum, or detectable amounts of lead. Testing of the sample showed more than 35% of the samples had PFAS, potentially toxic forever chemicals, at levels above Consumer Reports recommended maximum. About 8% of samples had arsenic at levels above Consumer Reports recommended maximum, and a total of 118 out of 120 samples had detectable levels of lead. Now, 118, damn near 100%. Almost every, so you can imagine if you just scale up, almost every sample they tested had some type of poison. I've never even heard of forever chemicals. Okay, this is the first time I'm even hearing of forever chemicals, and they have been shown to be in almost 100% of the drinking water tested. So if you just scale up from what they did, right? This is water they say could affect 19 million people. And out of all the tests that they did, 118 of 120 of them came back problematic and poisonous. This is an astronomical number. This is a 98, just say 95% of all the goddamn drinking water in the country is poisoning us and killing us. It goes further on to say almost every sample tested had measurable levels of PFAS, a group of compounds found in hundreds of household chemicals. These chemicals are linked to learning delays in children, cancer, and other health problems. More than 35% exceeded the safety threshold that the Consumer Report scientists and other health experts believe should be the maximum. Yet many consumers have never even heard of PFASs. I've never even heard of a PFAS. Right, I'm sitting here worried about arsenic and lead. I know about that, but now we got forever chemicals added to the mix. And why do they call them forever chemicals? Well, you could take it by the name because they don't go nowhere. The environment can't break them down. These are chemicals that these jackasses use to make certain products that I could do without the product. Or I could do without a frying pan or whatever else you're gonna put this shit in. I could do without that product, but what I can't do without is water. Right? I can do without any household product that is man-made when it is going to be between that or water. Every time, water is going to win out. It says the test revealed other problems as well. About 8% of the samples had levels of arsenic, which gets into drinking water through natural deposits or industrial or agricultural pollution. Above Consumer Reports recommended maximum for drinking water, and almost every sample had measurable amounts of lead, a heavy metal that leaches in corroding water lines and home plumbing fixtures. It is unsafe at any level. So we got the arsenic, which is above the recommended levels. You got the PFASs, which are the forever chemicals that are problematic and above all the levels. And then you got lead, which ain't no level of lead safe. And all of this is linked to learning disabilities, aggression, and behavior changes in children, especially in children, but it does not only affect children, it also affects adults. It says America's water crisis, while widespread, affects some communities more than others. According to the analysis from more than 140 public water systems published by The Guardian in February, it found that access to clean drinking water is highly unequal in the U.S., with water systems that service poorer and rural counties far more likely to have violations than those that provide water to wealthier or urban ones. Water systems in counties with large Latino populations were particularly likely to have violations, The Guardian found. PFASs, or forever chemicals, are a problem. The PFAS results from Consumer Report tests are particularly troubling. This is particularly troubling to me too, because this adds a whole nother dimension that I've never heard of. Right, I'm sitting here testing my water and I'm drinking bottled water. But again, even if you drink bottled water, because I heard this excuse, well, I don't. Well, we got the reverse osmosis. We got this type of filtering. But listen, man. Even if you do that, if you go out to restaurants, if you eating your food, if you brush your teeth, if you take your bath, your shower, even if you're not drinking it, this poison is getting into your system through your pores, through your gum line, straight. If it goes through your gums, it's straight into your bloodstream. So to think that just because you don't drink the water, you're safe. No, this is how people wind up with all type of health conditions while they're pretty young and they don't know why the hell are they so sick. Right? I don't know. I got time and time again, I can tell you so many people that's a part of my life that are in their 30s that I went to school with that are super young and they got cancer. And nobody really seems to know why. Even people who they don't have cancer from smoking or these type things. They got cancer from unknown causes. This is the cause. What you don't, DMX said it. God bless DMX. I'm praying for him. But while I'm doing the story, it reminds me of a DMX song. DMX says, what you don't know is going to get you. So these PFASs and what we call forever chemicals, it says manufacturers use PFAS to make stain-resistant fabrics and carpets, water-repellent clothing, non-sticks cookware, and hundreds of other common products. The compounds can seep into water from factories, landfills, and other sources, and because they don't easily break down in the environment, they're often called forever chemicals. It says investigation into the health effects of PFAS exposure is ongoing, but some of the strongest evidence about their potential risk comes from the research of about 69,000 people in and around Parkersburg, West Virginia, the research part of the settlement between DuPont, which makes some PFAS, and residents in the community were depicted in the 2019 movie Dark Waters. I might have to check that out. I haven't seen Dark Waters. If any of y'all have seen Dark Waters, please leave a comment. Let me know how the movie was. Don't be a spoiler on it. Just let me know if it's worth watching, if you've seen it. If not, then I may check it out and I'll let you know. The article goes on to say, it found a probable link between exposure to a type of PFAS, which is a forever chemical, and 6 health problems: high cholesterol, ulcerative colitis, thyroid disease, pregnancy-induced hypertension, and testicular and kidney cancers. Research has also linked some PFAS to learning delays in children. Why the hell would the federal government allow shit like this to be put into our environment? Is just, I think the politicians have been poisoned with this shit. It says as a kid it's gonna lower your IQ, it's gonna make you dumb, right? And these politicians and these people who head these regulatory agencies they have all been corrupted by these goddamn forever chemicals. I'm sure of it, right? You got this. Look what just happened in Florida with this dumbass Ron DeSantis. I can't use the R word, but that's what they are. Why the hell else would we be allowing companies to put into our environment, into our drinking water, into our soil, shit that we say are forever chemicals, meaning we know that once they put this damn poison there, it ain't no way we gonna be able to get it out. And how long have they been doing this shit without anybody knowing? I mean, I'm just coming across this story and I'm just now hearing about it. And I'm pretty sure a lot of you are just now hearing about it because ain't nobody goddamn reporting on it. Not nobody. This is why we do this here at Politics as Usual, man. This is why we politic with each other, to keep us up to date. Okay, it goes further on to say at least 2,337 communities in 49 states have drinking water known to be contaminated with PFAS, according to a January analysis by the Environmental Working Group, an advocacy organization. Despite mounting evidence of widespread contamination and health risks, the EPA has still not set an enforceable legal limit to PFAS in drinking water. Instead, it has established only voluntary limits, which apply to just 2 of the better studied forever chemicals: PFOA, or perfluorooctanoic acid, and PFOS, or perfluorooctanosulfonic acid, at 70 parts per trillion combined. It says Consumer Reports scientists say the maximum allowed amount should only be 5 parts per trillion for a single PFAS chemical and 10 parts per trillion for 2 or more. Among the 120 samples Consumer Reports tested, more than a third had PFAS levels above 10 parts per trillion, and more than a quarter exceeded 5 parts per trillion for a single PFAS chemical. 2 samples had PFAS levels above the federal advisory level of 70 parts per trillion, which is the highest amount. 80.2 parts per trillion, coming from a sample that Jim Vaughn, a 76-year-old retired electrical equipment salesman, collected at his church in Pittsboro, North Carolina. So North Carolina is hit, Virginia's hit, Connecticut's hit, and then it said the study was done over 48 out of the 50 states in the United States, and 48 of them were hit. I don't know what 2 states weren't hit. It's probably 2 states they didn't do the study in. So I just don't understand how in the hell can this be happening in America, man. So while we're sitting here arguing and fussing and fighting all this other shit, right? We got them poisoning and killing us and our babies. And my point being is, I don't understand, if you get rid of the population, if you gonna poison us, if you gonna make it to where life expectancy is going down. I'm gonna just do another story. I got a new story that I'm about to do on fertility, right? Male fertility and female fertility is down at astronomical levels. Scientists and everybody is starting to worry about people not being fertile and able to reproduce. And one of the things that these chemicals cause is impotence and infertility in women, right? So there's a total connection into the stuff we consume, and we're putting in our body to where we're not even making enough more human beings to survive, right? I think the numbers were like, for childbirth in America is down like 50 goddamn percent, 50% over the last few years. Like it's cut in half. Like basically we have one of the top aging populations in the world, and we're not able to reproduce. And I know women, plenty of women they're wondering why they can't have children, and men. Now you getting the clear picture of what's going on. There's nothing wrong with you. God has nothing to do. You can leave God and keep God out of it. Oh, if God wanted me to have a baby, I have a baby. Oh, if it's God, no, God had nothing to do with it. It's your government. It's your water. It's your food. So if you find yourself having infertility problems, then maybe you could check the water you're drinking. And I'm going to go on in this article to explain to you a few ways that you can try to check your water. Okay, it says in the early 2000s, the EPA considered a drinking water limit for arsenic of 3 parts per billion before settling on 10 parts per billion as an amount that balances the costs for water system operators while reducing health risks. Consumer Reports scientists have long said that the EPA should set a limit of 3 parts per billion or lower, in line with what other health experts and environmental advocacy groups such as the Natural Resources of Defense Council, NRDC, have called for. Almost every sample Consumer Reports tested had measurable levels of arsenic, including 10 or about 8%, with levels between 3 and 10 parts per billion. Previously tested from Consumer Reports and others have shown elevated levels in juices and baby foods. And I did a story on the baby foods. I'm about to drop that video. All the baby food had to be recalled in this country. Nobody made no fuss about it. You're not going to see it in none of the news. They don't want you to know about it. 95% of the baby food had to be recalled because it was poison in it, right? It had high levels of arsenic and lead. Exactly what it's saying now is in the damn water, right? I just did a story, if you follow politics as usual, just did a story a few weeks ago on how undercover and under the radar and how are you going to do a recall on 95% of the baby food and nobody knows about it, right? When you do a recall, that's supposed to put people on warning so people know not to use the damn products that may be sitting in their cabinet or their fridge or at that point in time, right? You can minimize the damage. They did the damn recall and nobody reported on it but me, the only goddamn person in the world. How am I the only person in the world reporting on this in this country? And like, if I'm not CNN, I'm not... I just don't understand how this shit is not only possible, but it's almost like they're all in cahoots, right? So now you got the juices and the baby food contaminated. On top of that, everything's poison. It says research suggests that exposure to even low levels of arsenic can pose health risks over the long term. A 2014 study in the Journal of Environmental Health found that the association between water with arsenic of 5 parts per billion or greater and a 5 to 6 point IQ reduction in children. That's amazing, and that's pretty damn huge. It says 2 states, New Hampshire and New Jersey, have lowered their arsenic limits to 5 parts per billion, citing warnings from studies. The EPA itself even sets its maximum contaminant level goal, the level below which there is no known or expected risk to health, at 0. So even the EPA is saying, hey man, there's no good level for this type of substance, right? When it comes to arsenic, which is a damn poison, there's no good level. We gonna set our the goal to 0. That's to have no risk, because if you even get 1 part per billion of arsenic, you can have problems. So the level that they set, the level goal is 0. So, you know, we're talking 5, 10 parts per billion, 10 times the amount of the allowable level. This is crazy. Right, at this point, this is outrageous, man. It says lead is no safe amount of lead that you're supposed to have. It says the Phillipses in Texas were especially fortunate to have installed a filtration system because the result of their unfiltered tap water test showed high levels of not only arsenic, but also lead at 5.8 parts per billion. Consumer Reports follow-up tests of the couple's filtered water showed a trace amounts of lead and levels of arsenic and PFAS well within the Consumer Report's recommended limits. It says the risk of lead and problems with how the water utilities test for it became a national concern when news of the water crisis in Flint, Michigan exploded in 2015. Scientists and the EPA agree that there is no safe exposure level of lead, but taking into consideration the feasibility of achieving lower levels, the EPA says utilities have to take significant steps to lower lead levels, including replacing lead service lines. Only when 10% of samples from homes in their service areas exceed 15 parts per billion. Now, it just said that there is no safe level of lead. But their EPA is going to set a guideline that the companies only have to change their pipes or try to do something about the lead poisoning problem if it reaches 15 parts per billion. By that time, you're already hit. Okay, at 15 parts per billion, when you're saying there is no safe amount, there's no safe amount, but we're going to say, okay, if it gets to 15 times the amount, then you need to try to do something. Okay, so if they're at 10, if they're at 11, if they're at 12, if they're at 13, if they're at 14, and this shit is going into our systems and our kids' systems, man, this country is, I'm telling you, all these people we have put in charge have mental deficiencies and have been affected by this crisis. Obviously, they've been drinking this arsenic and this lead poisoning water. I'm 100% sure of it, that a lot of our lawmakers, I don't know, man, at this point. I don't know, man. I don't trust the government, and I don't think neither should you when it comes to anything to do with health. Right? There's profit over health time and time again. Then they want to know, why is there vaccine hesitancy? Why don't we trust the CDC or what the EPA? Look at this shit. One breath you're going to say there's no safe amount of this substance, of this poison. And then in the next breath you're going to say, but we can let you get it 15 times the amount. That before we even attempt to tell anybody they need to try to fix or do anything. Let's go on and keep reading. It says, consumer advocates say those EPA regulations are problematic. You don't say. In reality, underscored by a testing result of water being piped into a condo owned by Stephen and Robin Newberg in New Britain, Connecticut. It says, while New Britain's annual water quality report for consumers indicates that its average lead level is 6 parts per billion, the Newberg's results showed a concentration of 31.2 parts per billion, more than double the EPA's action level of 15 parts per billion. Jesus Christ, man. It says the installation of new lead service lines, pipes that connect water mains in streets to individual buildings was banned in 1986. But an estimated 3 million to 6 million homes and businesses nationwide still get water through older lines that contain lead, according to the EPA's estimates. They know about this shit. An untold number of homes have plumbing fixtures made from heavy metals. Exposure can especially pose a risk to children, such as reduced IQ and behavioral problems. It says the Newberg's results were the only ones that Consumer Reports test to be above the EPA's action level. But almost every sample had measurable levels of lead, and health experts emphasize that no amount of lead is safe. So it's saying that the one that had the 31.2 parts per billion, which is goddamn 30 times the amount. So you know that they're causing health problems. There's just no doubt about it. If they got kids, pray for them. So we know that they are 31 times over, 32 times over the allowable limit, which is supposed to be 0. And then the EPA knows that no amount of lead is safe, and they still set it at 15 before a company has to do anything. They just said that 6 million businesses and homes still have these fixtures that's problematic that was banned 40 years ago. Right? That was banned 35 years ago, whatever it is. My point being, why is the EPA allowing these companies, these businesses, to do this damage? What is the point of having an EPA, a CDC, a FDA, if at the end of the day, you're gonna put forth regulations and guidelines that are already laxed as hell, that are already causing millions and upon millions of people to die of cancer and other unknown causes. You already got lax regulations, and then you don't even enforce those. At this point, you're useless. And do you see why nobody listens to a Dr. Fauci or any of these other goddamn monsters? Right? You set a level that's already well above, you're already jeopardizing our children and our families. And then after they don't follow that level that's already way too high, there's no consequences. So it's just at this point, I don't trust shit that's FDA, EPA, CDC, nothing approved. This is why. Because they know what they're doing. It's not like, oh, we didn't know. Even after they test, even after they see the evidence that is there, they still like, what are we gonna do about it? I don't know. This is what the hell we vote you in office for. This is why we have a government. This is the reason we have a government. We don't have a government to beat us over the head with nightsticks and billy clubs, to shoot us dead in the street. We don't have a government for you to come and lock us up and to take our homes and to goddamn make us suffer. That's not what government is for. Government is for shit like this. The whole reason we put structures in place, the whole reason these type of structures were founded for societies is so, yeah, we can have clean drinking water. You don't do shit else, so at least you can do is take care of the bare minimum. This is the bare minimum. It's like, okay, let's make sure we keep the drinking water safe for everybody. If you're not gonna do that, what's the point of having a government? What's the point of having a government? If you're not gonna make sure the food and the damn water safe, if you're not gonna do that, then there's literally no point of having a government. I don't give a damn what else they do. I don't give a damn about no $1,400 check. You could take that $1,400 check, and Joe Biden, you could take your fist, and Carmella, you could take her, she could take her fist, and you could shove it above both your asses for all I care. Okay, nobody gives a damn about that. At this point, man, this is insane. Do they kids not live in the same country? Then Joe Biden wonders why Hunter Biden is a damn crackhead. Mr. Scranton. I grew up in Scranton. You got this buffoon running the goddamn country. No, he been Scranton. I would love to see what the water levels, the lead levels, and the poison levels look like in Scranton. You know he done been drinking that shit. He done got a double dose of it. How you gonna get in? This should have been the first thing you attack. Everything else, I don't give a damn about nothing else. The COVID, the goddamn everything. We gonna make sure people get clean drinking water. This shit is crazy. Look what's happening in Florida, man. Look what's happening around the country, man. What is America doing? Here to finish this article off, it says Eric Olson, Senior Strategic Director of Health and Food at NRDC, says that Newberg's results illustrate several problems with how the EPA regulates lead. One is that the water system may test for lead only once every 3 years, and smaller systems can get waivers to test every 9 years. Another is that the sample sizes are generally small, and they may not be testing the highest risk homes, Olson says. It says the EPA, in the waning days of the Trump administration, finalized changes to the lead regulations that would require testing in elementary schools and established new rules regarding the steps water systems must take when lead is detected. But the NRDC and the NAACP and other groups recently sued the EPA, saying those steps didn't go far enough and urged the Biden administration to improve them. Here are some of the solutions that could be taken according to this article. And I got a couple of solutions of my own that I'm going to fill in because they didn't cover that. It says people seeking cleaner drinking water do have some options for reducing their exposure to dangerous contaminants. But consumer advocates say that fixing the problem shouldn't be up to the consumer. Americans shouldn't have to navigate bureaucracy and be forced to make significant investments in order to access clean tap water, says Brian Ronholm, Consumer Reports Director of Food Policy. Legislation passed last year by the House of Representatives would have authorized $22.5 billion to replace lead service lines across the U.S., according to the NRDC, but the bill died in the Senate. The NRDC called for the Biden administration and Congress to enact legislation requiring the expeditious removal and replacement of lead lines. Mr. Goddamn, this was Mr. Kill It, Don't Do Nothing McConnell. Mitch McConnell killed everything. How would you kill this bill? How would a bill like this come up in the Senate and you just let it die? As everybody in the country is getting sick and literally slowly dying. How could we vote for people like this? The other thing we could do is get these bums out of fucking office. Okay, that's the other logical thing you can do that this article is not saying. Okay, you can get the filters, you can do all that. Those are short-term solutions. Get these fuckers out. Get them out. That's what we got to do. Congress also focusing on the PFAS. In January, Congressional Task Force urged the Biden administration to take immediate steps to address the PFAS contamination by, among other things, directing the EPA to phase out any use of the chemicals deemed non-essential, to finalize a standard for PFOA and PFOS, and to accelerate the cleanup. It says Democratic Congresswoman Debbie Dingell, a member of the task force, responded to the findings from the Consumer Reports test, saying they show that we do not have any time to waste as we battle these toxic chemicals. She renewed her call for the PFAS to be banned and designated as hazardous. Man, you should have did that shit a long time ago. That's the end of this article, man. With the crisis that just happened in Florida earlier, right as I was putting this story together, is unbelievable. I was just putting together the water story. I've been working on this shit all week, and boom, what hits? The Florida crisis, and I got a video on that, so you could go reference back to that video, and that video will tell you the reference to this video. But all the references lead to that we're fucked in this country. And is the government at this point, right? The government is the enemy of the people. What other take can you have from it? Hey man, think about subscribing to the channel. Think about hitting that thumbs up button, liking the video, share this information out, share this video out, share this channel out. This is what we're gonna do here. I'm gonna continue on a weekly basis to try to bring you stories that are gonna make differences and changes and tangible differences in your life. Information that we all need to know. Also think about donating and contributing to the channel. You can find my Cash App in the description. The other ways that you can contribute and donate is in the description. It doesn't have to be monetarily. Any monetary donations will be greatly appreciated. But I would like to keep these stories coming, and you know, we're trying to grow and build a network here, and a channel and a community of informed individuals. Check out the live streams when I go live. If you hit the notifications and ring that bell on, you'll get my notifications. I do go live, and we have a lot of different type of things we do here at Politics as Usual. It's all politicking, but it's not all politics. So make sure you catch the lives. And just again, I hope that this information is useful and can do something to make a difference in your life. A tangible difference in your life. Blessings, peace, and love to you and all that you cherish. Peace.